Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Harebrained Games. Today we're going to do a review of Pan Am. Pan Am is a game for 2 to 4 players, ages 12 and up. Takes about 60 minutes, and that seems about right. The purpose in Pan Am is you are going to be establishing routes across various cities across the globe. Pan Am wants those routes. It likes those routes. It might need those routes. And so you will let them have the routes, but they will give you cash. And then you will buy stock in Pan Am, and things will be great. No one will ever know what happened to Pan Am. What? What is Pan Am, you ask? Well, let's take a look. Let's do a flyby of the components that come in the game Pan Am. You get this board with its retro look and a set of tracks and connections. You have round cards, 7 rounds, each one card for rounds. These will give you events and board state each round. Get rid of these guys. You have tokens. Pan Am, when they buy out a connected route, will actually use this to mark that as such, and money. Everybody loves money. Each player is going to get their own little sheet. They're going to get an income track marker. They start with a couple planes of one route distance and 2 route distance. These planes are interesting because if you cannot tell immediately what the size are, because they're a little close, you count the number of détentes or notches on their wings. This is a 2 notches. This is a plane that can travel up to 2 places. You have terminals, airports per se. You have 5 of them in a 2-player game that you can use to place on the map. This will allow you to make connections from them through the terminal. And you have these worker tokens. They represent the lollipop kids. They also represent places on the map that you're going to be able to claim in order to do an action on any given round. Finally, you have destination cards. These are also going to help you map routes and create routes in the hopes that Pan Am will come your way. Directives, which are basically just crazy little things you can do. They're little special bonuses that you can grab. And stock. Pan Am stock is the penultimate reason you are playing this game at all. The winner is the one who will accrue the most Pan Am stock. And that is it. Let's get into an example of gameplay. Every round, we go through a particular sequence, same steps every time. Reveal a round, follow its actions. In this case, at the start of the expansion phase, which will be happening later in the round, Pan Am will always expand once along a South American path. It always starts in Miami, and it will be going down this way. We'll find some way to buy out a route as it expands across the globe. So that's just an automatic thing, as well as the additional elements that take place during the expansion round. Stock price. Current stock price is 4. 4 is good. And during expansion, it will roll 1 dice, this dice, and lay out track or acquire routes based on the die result. Okay, then you go into resolution, and this is sort of the meat of the game. You take your lollipop children, and in a 2-player game, everybody gets 5. You will then place them, and we're going to go ahead and make Burgundy the first player here. Place them in action spots. There are action spots for airports. There are action spots for accruing destinations. There are action spots for acquiring additional airplanes. There are action spots for when you want to actually claim a route, which is to say you have all the prerequisite materials needed in order to be able to claim a route. These are routes, 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 routes. And you have directives. Now you'll notice that these do not have a cost. However, all of the others have a cost. You are bidding that much money, and everyone starts with, I believe, 12 coins at the start of their turn, and you're going to have to purchase and vie for purchase these different areas as they go. The auctioning is a little unique. I like it. So for example, if I want an airport because I feel like I could do well at an airport, you also do start with a destination card and a directive card, so I should preface that, but I want to purchase an airport. I want to purchase an airport, yes I do. That's my bid. I'm going to bid 3, and we're going to see from there whether that was a wise choice. Then it routes to yellow. Yellow is going to decide, well, I already have enough planes. I already have enough stuff. I would like to also build an airport. I'm going to look at my cards and see that I have Paris and Nome. There are 4 ways that you claim routes. One, you have an airport, say here at Bogota. Say I had an airport here. I would need either another airport, which these are not inexpensive, they're costly, or a card that happens to have Lima as a name, or I can have any card in any of the 5 colors, which are different areas, and if I discard it, I can use that for a route to anywhere in that given color, or as a last resort, if I have 2 cards of the same color that aren't this color, I can discard them as well. Discarding really does remove future options, but sometimes it is the course you're required to take. So that's what we're looking at and why we're making the choices we are. In this case, I'm looking here to see if there's any routes that make sense. Now, right now, I have planes that are only a distance of 1 or 2. So I'm looking at routes that are only 1 hop or 2 hops, because I don't have any planes with the capacity to get me farther. Eventually, on round 3, I will be able to open up the opportunity to buy 3 planes that can travel a distance of 3. In round 6, I can even get jets that will give me a capacity to go the farthest route. There are a couple that are 4, and these are pretty much the longest routes you're going to have to deal with, and you can use a larger plane for a smaller route if you wish. In this case, I own Paris, the card, but do I have anything that's even close? I do not. I don't have anything that's going to cut me some slack there, so let's look at Nome. Nome is the next off. Here's Nome right there. Do I have anything by Nome that would be useful to me? By George? How about Midway? Nope, still not there. So right now our options are not particularly pleasant. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to outbid for an airport. And so this little kid goes back, and now I have bid 5 for an airport. Pretty pricey, but it would be a way for me to start getting connected routes without having to rely on the cards. So we're going to keep doing that. So now I have 5 moves back again, and I am going to bid 0 for Midway. My friend here is going to bid 0 for Bangkok, and then we're going to go, I would like to buy a motor for 2, since I would like an airplane that's a little more travel distance. I'm going to go tri-motor here. I'm going to take a directive card when that time comes up. That leaves yellow to decide what to do. I too am going to take a directive card. These allow you to have multiples on them. The others do not. You either outbid or you don't. In this case, we all start with 12, so theoretically, red could get an airport, but why not? Why not start branching out and taking some opportunities here? Because in a 2-player game, there's a little more leeway to get some cards. And finally, finally, we will take this one and we will go ahead and grab the 3rd card. There we go. We are done. We have placed all of our engineers. They're called engineers for real. And that's done. Now we're going to take an example of the next phase, which is resolution. Now we resolve. Resolution is done very simply. A, B, C, D, and E. So A, yellow gets an airport. Yellow must pay the $5, take the worker back, and put an airport anywhere. Now we're in a good state because we have a Paris card, and now we can place this on Rome. Look at that. Now we have a connection. Not only do we have a connection, but because we placed it here, this gives us abilities to go in 3 other directions when the time comes as well. So that's not a bad move. Pretty savvy, yellow. You surprise me. Then we go to step B. Step B is grab the cards. Red now has a ton of opportunities, and not only can they have opportunities, but this is pretty much a wild card for anywhere because it's 2 of the same color except in the purple area. Midway, Miami, Calcutta, the options are there. So there we go. Restore all of these guys back, and Bangkok goes to our good friend yellow. Now we go to C. C is planes. Tri-motors are free, so she's just going to grab herself an extra plane here for the future. The Clipper costs 2, so he's going to pay the 2 coins, take that off, and then grab a larger ship. That's cool. And then we go to D. D is the route building opportunity. This one, in order, yellow will build a route. How to do that? You need to have what's called rights to build a route here, and he does, because we own Rome and we have a Paris card. Because we actually have the very named card that matches the city, we only have to have it. We don't have to discard it. So we're going to place ourselves a plane right there. We have now acquired that route. What does that do for us? Well, it gives us an income of 1, plus we always get an income from our tower, so that's 2 actually. And there we go. We have built our first route. Yay! And there was great rejoicing. Finally, we go to E. E is very simple. I draw an expansion card, or a directive card. Ooh. When resolving an engineer, I can claim an additional route. That's cool. And a directive here, buy 1 stock at no cost at the end of the game. So that's kind of a nice thing to tuck away. These do not go away, because when you take a directive card, you're taking a risk of a card, that might be advantageous or might just be fun and frolicky. By choosing to get a directive card here, you also get priority access the next turn, which means that the next turn, if you are the first person here, this directive, you are going to get to put your, whether you're the first player, no, it doesn't matter, whoever's the first player. If you are here, these always get placed first before we start placing the rest of our engineers in turn order. So it's a way to think for the future, take a risk now, but with a little advantage directly for the future. And that's it. That's it for the resolution phase. Now Pan Am, the great overseer in the sky, takes their turn. They expand. Now what do they expand? First off, at the start of the expansion, expand once along the South American path. Right now, that's pretty simple. Miami, there you go. A route has been formed from Miami to San Juan. It is done. In fact, or actually we'll put it there. There we go. No one can claim that. Pan Am has taken it. It is the overseer, the overlord of all things sky. Now we're going to roll the dice. Oh, the Pan Am. That means, let me explain to you first off. If we didn't get that, if we had another route or 2 routes, we would expand on each of these paths. There's basically different path styles, path patterns. The dots represent here, so we would always expand out here. And then we have the squiggly wiggly candy cane forest kind of thing, and that means we would go here. So Pan Am has expanded. Nobody's going to be able to claim those routes. Pan Am has taken them. They're growing. It's a big company. It's going places. And that's that. The particular Pan Am logo means that any player can sell any route, because if Pan Am decides to take over the route you already had, you lose that income, but you gain a nice big surplus of cash, which you can then use to build other routes. So you're kind of strategizing how far away you want to be from Pan Am, because you like the steady income, but you also like the big bonus income. For example, if I were to sell right now, if I had this and I was to go, you know what, I want to sell that route to Pan Am, I would get 5 coins. Now that's worth it to me? It depends, because the 5 right now might be pretty worth it. It's going to take me 4 more turns of rounds. So yeah, you bet I'm going to sell it. So I would sell it, and Pan Am would take over. My plane would go back. I could use it again, and I get 5 sweet dollar. All right. There we go. And that's it. That's basically it. Then the income happens. I get, well, I don't have any income coming in right now from that, so bummer. Here, however, I did lose my plane, so I don't get that. So now I only get 1 additional, but I had an influx of 5 from selling the route. So that's the income part. And then finally the stock. Anybody can buy stock, and this is the real purpose of the game. If you have money and stock is low, you should buy some. For example, if I bought, say, 1 share here, and I'm like, oh, you know what, I'm going to buy 1, and you pay the 4 because it's going to get larger in price, so buying it now isn't exactly a terrible idea. Then you get an opportunity to buy, because ultimately that's your victory condition right here. This is a tiebreaker, but it's really the amount of stock that you put into Pan Am that's going to take you all the way. We won't really bring up the inevitable demise of Pan Am. Let's just pretend everything just went well right till the end of the game. And that's it. That's the game. You're going to do this 7 times for 7 rounds. You're going to grow your fleet. You're going to create your routes. Pan Am's going to come and crush your routes and give you money for their crushness, which in turn you will then feed the beast by buying stock in them so that you can take advantage of them crushing the independent will of other routes. It's a strange game. Anyway, let's get to my final thoughts. All right, final thoughts on Pan Am. Let's go over the cons first, as always. I'm going to sound the altitude warning on this one and say this is not Ticket to Ride. This is not Airlines Europe. This is not anything but its own game. Now, that's only a warning for people who might have expectations, because it was described to me as such, and I think that does not do justice to the game. If Ticket to Ride was at low altitude, this one is supersonic stratosphere in contrast. That doesn't mean it's a complicated game. It means it is not going to be as simple as any of the games, the aforementioned games, it might be likened to. It is a medium complexity game in a mainstream setting. And that's really the only caveat I give. That is nothing against the game itself, as you'll understand later. There are things that if you're going to teach it to people who normally buy their games at certain large-scale markets, that you might want to spend a little time reading and explaining. For instance, land rights or rights to build your connections, your flights. There are 4 ways to do it, and that's about 2 more than the people I introduce it to could initially get for a while. Like, okay, so I can do that. Yeah, gamers get it like all the way. Like, sure, okay, there's 4 ways to do it, with this, that, this, and that. But it's something to keep in mind as you're teaching it. Take some time to really explore it. And I was able to successfully teach this game without any issues by going ahead of the time and really kind of being able to lay out what you're trying to do, because purpose is also important in this game. And it's not obvious what the purpose is if you just jump into it with a Ticket to Ride mindset. There is some initial resistance to ownership. You'll understand the ownership rules here, and who owns what, and why can't I keep my thing, and the whole bigger fish mentality. It can be a little interesting, so bear that in mind. And finally, it's decent with 2, but not necessarily optimal with 2. It plays fine for 2, but it's a little vacuous with 2 when it comes to the areas of the game where you're kind of shuffling for dominance. And so I definitely would recommend its optimal experience at least 3, preferably 4. Honestly. And the other thing is, it's niche. There's no lie. You're not going to say, hey, let's play a game about Pan Am. What's Pan Am? No, I don't know. It's not here anymore. And so you're going to have to, it's going to be a viral kind of thing, which I'm doing my part. Let's get right to the pros, because I'm done with the cons. I love the detailed touches in this game. This isn't stunning photorealistic artwork. There isn't no fantasy characters that are just exuding trees and vines and brambles or whatever. This is not it's not what it's about. Contextually, it's dead on its mark. It's on its game. You have the right logos, you have the right fonts, you have the right, just stylistically, every detail. You have the washed out but not really washed out coloring kind of thing. Every detail oozes the Pan Am culture. So good. Again, it's not like Ticket to Ride. I noted that as a con, but to me, it's a pro, because you have a lot of options in this game that are going to make it from getting stale. It's many, many layers of decision spaces, the likes of which you normally wouldn't find at a game this commonly available at uncommonly non-board gamey-like places. You are carving possibilities from negative space, sort of, if that's the right term, rather than expanding options from this preset fixed path of spaces. You have the whole map at your disposal. You are not gated at the beginning, other than how far your planes can travel. But even there are opportunities all over the place. It's up to you to take all those different islands of information and decide how best you're going to approach it, where you hope Pan Am will build, etc. I love the sort of the auctioning kind of thing. I love that you're fighting over actions because it makes for these miniature fiscal battlegrounds. Going Stiffen, I'll bet he'll pay 7 for. Yeah, there's so much of the mind game going on, and when stuff happens and you don't lose out like, oh crap, he outbid me, so I guess I just there's a lost turn. No, there's no lost turns. You get it back and you're like, okay, pivot your business to some other way when you're going to try and get the most out of it and stuff. Great, 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 great. Said an initial resistance to ownership kind of thing, where people don't quite get it. Understanding that owning a path is not really an end, but really a seed of a beginning. Think of it like a rental mentality where to farm land, and every year you get a little something, and then someone comes along, Mr. Deer comes along and says, I'll buy your land and I'll give you this much, and your eyes wide and you're like, thank you, but you don't have that income anymore, so you go get another piece of land and you hope Mr. Deer comes by again, and while you're at it, you might as well invest in Mr. Deer because it seems like he's doing pretty well. I love an offbeat fringe theme when it can be pulled off, and it totally gets pulled off here. They did their homework. They put tons of attention into the detail to their craft, and it shows in every corner of this box. So, and honestly, theme-wise, I love the theme, but in some ways, there are other themes I almost wish this. Imagine, have you ever watched The Expanse? If you watch or read the Expanse books, you'll find that there's sort of this whole subset of the stories, which I'm not going to give away, where you have these routes of people delivering goods and stuff. This whole merchant, like air, space trader kind of thing. Can you imagine this game would fit perfectly in that, where you're vying for control, and then you have the whole like trading guild kind of thing coming along and filling out your routes. They totally could have done an Expanse like theme of this game, and I think it would have pulled off, honestly. So just putting that out there, Prospero Hall. Anyway, Prospero Hall, on the heels of some great games, and admittedly the last one I didn't like so well, but for the most part they hit on all cylinders. They brought the meat of their lineup back, when it comes to putting Pan Am on my table. I am so stoked about this game. Don't let the box and the fact that it looks like it should be in the housewares section with an inflatable travel pillow inside fool you. This is a real game, a premier game from a premier studio that just keeps it going. So in short, Panama.